This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital. And now, here's your host, Cindy Pollard, President and CEO of the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with Mike Dozier from the San Joaquin Valley Partnership. And just before we went to the break, we were talking about the regional industry clusters and the huge potential here in the valley for construction and manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So out of that industry cluster, what educational needs are you looking at trying to fill? You know, where is that gap, and what is it that the companies are telling you that they need?
Well, it depends on the cluster. So
okay.
Healthcare, for example,
okay.
there's a number of technical positions that go unfilled. Now, some of those can be filled and trained by the community colleges. Mm-hmm. Some of the lesser skilled can be trained by the WIBs, for example. Mm-hmm. But some of them are going to be like nurses and more technical right. are going to need university.
Right.
The issues there are how can we get everyone talking so that mm-hmm. we can meet the needs as a regional base? And I always look at it like this. It's if for a community college to provide a coursework, mm-hmm. they need to have X number of people that are going to take that coursework.
Right, right.
And if you look at the valley as a whole, there may be one industry that needs a widget maker in Merced, and then 5 widget makers in Madera, and 5 widget makers in Tulare, and so on and so forth, mm-hmm. that if you look valley-wide, you'll get 20, 25, 30 widget makers. And right,
right.
what college, community college within that geographical area is best served to be the coursework for the widget makers. Mm-hmm. And the community colleges are doing a really good job of coming right. together. They have a consortium, mm-hmm. So they come together, they do a great job in talking, and that can happen. But they can't provide the services until industry tells them what the services are that they need. And right. so there has to be a dialogue. There mm-hmm. has to be that mm-hmm. one place. What we've looked at, the Ricky, the way that the Ricky can work is that if all of these different entities go to industry mm-hmm. at different times, it's going to drive industry crazy. I mean, because right. they're there to make a profit,
sure.
not to go to meetings. That's
right.
what we do. We go to meetings. So if there can be that one location mm-hmm. that can be set up to where industry just has to go to one place or mm-hmm. coordinate with mm-hmm. one area, and then that area can then dialogue with the other areas
right.
or be at the table at the same time,
right.
then there can be a plan made. So
okay.
that's really what we're looking at doing with this.
Okay. So if there's an employer out there who feels that they have a need, that they're having a hard time meeting, and want to either tap into what it is that you're doing or have their voice heard in terms of an area of need that may be worth exploring, how can they connect with you on that?
Well, they can get a hold of me through email,
okay.
and it's mdozier@csufresno.edu.
Okay.
They can call me, 559-278-6021.
Okay.
Either way, they can get a hold of me, and we may not be the answer. And we don't try to be the answer all the time. What we try to do is connect them with the answer.
Okay.
So our office looks at things from 3 different angles: collaboration, connectivity, mm-hmm. and advocacy.
Okay.
And that we don't try to become the boss of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That is never going to work.
That's not it. Uh-huh.
What we try to do is be a place that one resource that if you don't know how to get a hold of what it is that you need to get a hold of, contact us. We have a lot of partners up and down the valley,
right.
and we can point them out.
Okay. Now, when you say advocacy, is that political advocacy or what type of advocacy?
Well,
about?
We're not lobbyists,
okay.
so we're okay. sure to distinguish ourselves from being a lobbyist, but we do advocate for the valley. So if there's a need in the valley, mm-hmm. We're advocating for it. If the EDCs, for example, identify legislation that's necessary to help the valley, mm-hmm. then the partnership can carry that message as
right.
as one voice.
Right.
We have this open dialogue between the administration. I mentioned that Governor Schwarzenegger was the person that established the partnership, and there was some concern that when the new governor came on, and especially being in a different party, that the politics may come to where now we don't need the partnership. And I'm really happy to say that Governor Brown saw this as being an opportunity, and his staff, especially people like Karen Ross and Diana Dooley, the Secretary of Agriculture and Secretary of Health and Human Services, have played a huge role in partnership. And
That's
so
great.
we have that connectivity.
That's fantastic. Let's switch gears right now and talk a little bit about the Partnership Summit that you conducted last month. During the summit, you recognized champions for regional change. What did those awards symbolize? And tell us about some of the champions that were recognized.
Well, what we tried to do is we have this is our annual report.
Okay.
And what we wanted to do is take the annual report and make it live.
Okay.
So within the annual report, there are various sections, one on infrastructure development, sustainable planning, and then job creation.
Okay.
And then within each of those sections, we identified 2 awardees that we call them kudos. And what we wanted to do is identify people who were doing things of regional significance that we weren't necessarily a part of. So what this does is 2 things. It says that, look, the partnership doesn't have to be the orchestrator of everything that is
of
regional.
all things good in the region, right?
And the second thing is people should be recognized for some of the good things that they've done. And so in each one of them, we identified, for instance, under job creation, San Joaquin County and their EDC up there put together a thing called Greater Silicon Valley. And what they've tried to do, and they've set up offices in Silicon Valley as far as, okay, if you need to expand somewhere, this is a good place to expand. So they've gotten a lot of wins with that. And the Google Barge, for example, is in Stockton now. So they've had a really good success with that. Under sustainable planning, we had the city of Houston established a farm preservation ordinance. And this is something that we felt that other cities should take a look at and consider it as something that they may want to look at and adopt. Then we recognize self-help enterprises for their housing projects up and down the San Joaquin Valley. Anybody that knows self-help knows the great work that they've done. And then our partner of the year was Valley Can. And Valley Can has done some great stuff with getting some cars tuned up and off the road. So from a pollution standpoint, that's to be lauded. We like those type of projects that are business oriented and are environmentally friendly.
Right.
It's not like government comes in and says, you shall do this. It's more like business comes in and says, it's smart to do this. Economically, environmentally, and equity.
Right.
So, that's what that was all about.
Okay. And how many did participated in the summit?
We had close to 200 people come.
Okay.
It was held in Clovis. All of the valley.
Okay.
Right.
And what were some of the other outcomes or discussion points from
Well, there were 3
summit?
panels. There was a panel for each of the sections that I talked about. For, the infrastructure development panel, and in that, Connie Conway came and talked about the water bond that's on the docket, the election in November. There was a sustainable planning panel, and then there was a job creation panel, and each of them talked about what was going on in the valley within those specific areas. And so they were represented by the COGs, the EDCs, the community colleges, the energy cluster, water. Everybody was represented within the panels. Okay. And then we had a very engaging, entertaining economist. Chris
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
It is, isn't it, though? Chris Thornburg from Beacon Economics came and he gave us about 45 minutes of why the Valley is doing well.
Wow.
And it was an upbeat, we're leading the way in California in job growth, and things are looking up for us.
That's-
And so a lot of people took that and went, wow, that's amazing. And you can get his PowerPoint on our website.
Okay. Okay. Now, I understand you also offer economic development courses.
We do. That's our office. The Office of Community and Economic Development partners with the University Business Center on campus.
Okay.
And CalEd, the California Association of Local Economic Development, and the International Economic Development Council to provide the basic economic development course.
Okay.
It actually takes place here in 2 weeks, the 27th of October,
Okay.
4 days. And we have a number of different trainers who come in on various subjects of economic development. As a matter of fact, one of the most favored trainers is David Lyman here in Bakersfield. He year in, year out, he gets the highest grades from attendees.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah, he's such a gracious guy. He never says no, and he's had some difficulties in getting there at times, but he's always shown.
That's great.
And we appreciate people like David.
Well, I will pass that on when I see him. I should see
Please
him at
do.
the end of this week. So quickly, I think we've got another minute or two. Tell me a little bit about the Broadband Consortium plan.
Broadband, that came out of a grant that we received from the CUC to expand broadband in the San Joaquin Valley, 95% of the valley by 2015, at a certain speed.
Okay.
And everybody knows that once you get broadband, start using the broadband, that the economy is increased by a certain percentage, 1% at least.
right.
And what we've also done is taught digital literacy. So in these areas that haven't had broadband or haven't used the computer, we come in and teach them how.
Okay.
And then we sign people up for broadband. It's a number of different things that we've done in that area.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And what is the Rural Development Center?
Well, the Rural Development Center was set up as a technical assistance for rural areas under 50,000 population. And generally it really has been for under 20,000 population,
Okay.
although anybody under 50 is considered rural in our definition. We've done a number of different things in rural areas, some of it for nothing at all. But we really try to set ourselves up as kind of a mezzanine consulting service.
Okay.
So that before they go out and pay a lot of money for a consultant on maybe something that they need, if they can hear from experts, and we have 40 partners that have expertise in a lot of different areas,
yeah.
that will go to the community, listen to what their needs are, and then come back with a short report telling them what are their alternatives, and then they can decide where they want to go.
Okay.
We've also done economic development strategies for cities. We just finished up one in Orange Cove in Fresno County.
Okay.
Last year we did one in Taft, and then this year we are working with California City, Ridgecrest,
Fantastic.
and Eastern Kern on possibly doing a regional economic development strategy over there.
Fantastic.
Hopefully starting in February.
Yeah. So just very quickly, what's next for the partnership?
What's next for the partnership is just a continuation. And the partnership is not a rigid organization. It's a very flexible organization, and it has to be to go with the times.
Yeah.
So while we had a 10-year strategic action plan, that plan has changed, and every so often we need to sit back and say, okay, is this still the direction we need to go? In December, we'll be in Manteca, and we will do some strategic planning there to determine whether or not over the next year, what are the hot spots? What are the things that we need to be working on?
Fantastic. Now, I know you gave your contact information earlier, but just
Right.
before we go back to a break, can you give us your email address, your phone number, and the website again?
I sure
For people
can.
who want to get involved.
I sure can. It's Dozier, Dozier, at csufresno.edu.
Okay.
And then the phone number is 559-278-6021. And the website, there's two websites, but I'm going to direct you to the partnership website, and that
Okay.
is www.sjvpartnership.org.
Fantastic. Mike, thank you so much for being
My
here this
pleasure.
morning, and thanks for all of the great work that the partnership is doing on behalf of the Valley.
Thank you, Cindy.
We hope that you continue for a long time to come. So, I'm Cindy Pollard with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. You are watching Strictly Business. We're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll be at the closing bell. Stay with us.